Did you know there's a country where sandstorms can bury you alive, and it has the highest obesity rate in Asia? Welcome to the hidden side of Mongolia. Nestled between Russia and China, Mongolia is a land of stunning upland steppes, deserts, and forested mountains. The Huns are thought to be their ancestors. In the early 13th century, Genghis Khan united Mongolia, creating an empire that stretched across China, Russia, Central Asia, and the Middle East. However, this vast empire eventually collapsed and fragmented. In 1691, the Qing dynasty of China colonized Mongolia. After the Qing dynasty dissolved in 1911, Mongolia gained autonomy. With Soviet support, Mongolian troops expelled Chinese forces until 1921. In 1924, the Mongolian People's Republic was established with Ulaanbaatar as its capital. For decades, Mongolia remained a one-party state closely allied with the Soviet Union, receiving economic, technical, and military support until 1990. By 1990, Mongolians sought change, introducing multi-party elections and transitioning to a market economy. This shift initially brought economic hardships as Soviet support vanished, but the nation has since begun to recover. In 2022, Mongolia's GDP rose by 4.8% to $16.81 billion, and its GDP per capita increased by 3.3% to $4,242. Today, Mongolia faces a unique health challenge. With 49.4% of its population classified as overweight, it has the highest prevalence of obesity in Asia. This has led to increased rates of heart disease, hypertension, stroke, diabetes, and cancer. The country's traditional diet of calorie-rich meats and dairy products, suited to its harsh climate and nomadic lifestyle, plays a key role. Unlike other East Asian countries, Mongolia lacks a strong stigma against weight. In contrast, neighboring China places extreme emphasis on body image, promoting trends like the A4 waist fad, where women strive to fit their waist size to the width of an A4 sheet of paper. While Mongolia is often imagined as a land of mountains and fresh air, its capital, Ulaanbaatar, is one of the most polluted cities globally due to heavy reliance on coal for heat and energy. On particularly cold days, the pollution can be so dense that visibility becomes severely limited. At one point, air pollution levels in Ulaanbaatar reached 133 times the World Health Organization's recommended maximum limit for dangerous airborne particles. The city's location contributes to this issue. It sits in a narrow valley formed by the Bogged Mountain and the Tool River, which causes a thermal inversion that traps polluted air. To combat this problem, the government banned the use of raw coal and introduced compressed coal briquettes, which burn longer and produce fewer fumes. This strategy initially worked, reducing airborne particles by 50% by 2019. However, as the COVID-19 pandemic struck and poverty increased, many residents reverted to using cheaper fuels, leading to a decline in air quality. Air pollution is just one of many challenges Mongolia faces. The country also experiences some of the most severe sandstorms in the world, primarily due to the Gobi Desert. Mongolia's harsh continental climate has always featured strong winds, snow, and dust storms, but climate change has intensified these conditions, increasing the frequency of sandstorms. In 2021, the country faced its worst sandstorm in a decade. During this storm, a Mongolian herder was forced to take shelter with his sheep as dust blocked out the sun. Buried under the sand, he was only rescued when his brother found and dug him out the next day. While he survived, 10 other herders perished, and an estimated 1.6 million livestock died, devastating the income of many families. Scientists point to desertification and overgrazing by livestock, along with mining activities, as the primary causes. If these conditions persist, Mongolia's nomads and herders might be forced to relocate to escape the increasingly violent sandstorms. Mongolia is not the only country affected. Neighboring China also experiences these sandstorms. In response, both nations are collaborating on projects to stabilize sand dunes and increase vegetation, aiming to create safer environments for the nomadic communities. If Mongolia cannot control desertification, it could face another crisis: the expansion of unregulated tent settlements, known as gur districts, on the outskirts of Ulaanbaatar. Gurs are traditional Mongolian circular tents made of a wooden frame covered with felt. Nearly a third of the country's population resides in these areas, where basic services like sanitation, waste management, electricity, and clean water are lacking. Many families were forced into these districts after losing their livestock due to climate change. The city has plans to build green, affordable housing for these residents, proposing 20 eco-districts with 500 homes each. These new homes would feature insulated walls, parks, solar panels, and sanitation facilities. However, this project is still underway, and its future remains uncertain. In the face of harsh winters, many Mongolians turn to alcohol as a common coping mechanism. This has contributed to Mongolia having one of the highest alcoholism rates in the world. In Mongolia, around 30% of women and 50% of men are heavy drinkers. For many Mongolians, excessive alcohol consumption is seen as a way of life. Among men, drinking heavily is often associated with masculinity, patriotism, and virility. This tradition traces back to the time of Genghis Khan and the Imperial Mongols. Efforts to address alcoholism in Mongolia have included measures like banning alcohol sales on certain days and the establishment of Alcoholics Anonymous in 2013. Despite these initiatives, the issue persists, as alcohol remains deeply ingrained in Mongolian culture. Mongolia is closely linked with Genghis Khan, the legendary leader who ushered in the golden age of its empire. Born as Temujin, Genghis Khan rose from humble beginnings, using his intelligence and determination to forge the largest land empire in history. However, his rule was also marked by extreme brutality. Genghis Khan was responsible for the deaths of an estimated 40 million people. His approach was simple: those who surrendered were spared, while those who resisted were annihilated. Entire provinces were left in ruins under his command. His legacy continues to influence the world today. Some researchers argue that Genghis Khan's campaigns reduced the global population so significantly that it led to the removal of around 700 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere. Additionally, genetic studies suggest that about 8% of men living in the former Mongol Empire carry DNA linked to Genghis Khan's lineage. The perception of Genghis Khan varies. Some view him as a ruthless conqueror, while others see him as a national hero. One of the most intriguing aspects of his legacy is the mystery surrounding his final resting place. Despite his fame, the location of Genghis Khan's tomb remains unknown. According to legend, his soldiers transported his body and killed anyone they encountered to keep his burial site a secret. Some sources even claim that the soldiers who buried him committed suicide afterward to ensure that no one could reveal the location. Although there has been considerable international interest in uncovering his tomb, most Mongolians prefer to honor his wish for secrecy. Another ancient tradition rooted in the time of Genghis Khan is creating problems in modern-day Mongolia: horse racing. Horses are seen as symbols of the national spirit, as Genghis Khan is believed to have built his empire on horseback. In these races, children as young as 5 are often chosen to ride, as their lighter weight is thought to be less burdensome on the horses. Unfortunately, this tradition comes at a high cost, as the International Labor Organization classifies it as a form of child labor. The dangers of this practice are clear. For example, a young boy once fell from his horse and was trampled, resulting in a fatal skull injury. Thousands of children have been injured, and dozens have died in these races, often due to a lack of proper safety equipment. There have been efforts to put an end to this tradition entirely, but instead, the government chose to reach a compromise by introducing new regulations. To protect the young riders, the minimum age for jockeys was raised to 8 years old, and trainers are now held accountable for the children's safety during races. Mongolia is a country of stunning, unique landscapes, but it also faces significant challenges. With hope and determination, Mongolia can overcome these difficulties, allowing its rich heritage and natural beauty to be preserved for generations to come. If you would like to learn more about the strange customs and traditions in Mongolia, click on this video.